Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are already subscribed, thank you so much for your support and your encouraging words. Definitely keep them coming because your girl needs support. But for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Norma Liz, and just if you are interested or if you're blessed by the content in my video, definitely would appreciate if you subscribe and leave some comments, leave some feedback. I would love to hear from you. Thank you. So today's video is going to be talking about how God worked in my favor. The purpose of this channel is, of course, to share my life with you, and this is one of those times that God really came through for me, and I wasn't really praying for this particular thing, but I'm so grateful that it worked out the way that it did, because I really needed that. So I was living in Houston. I had to move. I'm from Dallas, Cowboys. And I had only been living there for about 9 months, and the apartment that we leased in Houston, we were having a lot of issues, a lot of maintenance issues. And with my experience, if you know anything about property management or the way that the leases work, it's almost impossible to let someone out of their lease for free. Like, it just doesn't happen. And even if someone is having an issue, like maintenance issues, or you finally just want to let them out of their lease, you still have to pay a reletting charge, or at the very minimum give a 60-day notice or a 30-day notice, and then of course pay your rent and utilities through that date. And so I wanted us to move to the property that I was working at because I loved it, and you know, I knew the maintenance guys, so I knew things would get done, and it was a much newer property, so that's kind of what I wanted. Well, he decides to reach out, and they told us that we could get out of our lease. But the biggest thing for me, and kind of what was shocking, was the fact that they were letting us out of our lease with no notice. I mean, if we wanted to move tomorrow, we could have moved. And so that like never happens. And so we were able to move out whenever we were ready to move, and in addition to that, we didn't have to pay any reletting charges. In my mind, I thought, there's no way they're letting us out. Like, what's the catch? You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, yeah, they'll let us move, but then our collection, they'll probably report us to collections, and then our credit will be affected. And so what was so crazy about this was, at that particular time, my ex and I, we had been arguing a lot and having a lot of the same arguments. Mind you, we were newlyweds, and the weekend before we decided that we would move into the property where I was working at, he told me that he had an affair and he cheated on me. So, I know, right? Anyway, so he told me that, and it was like one thing after another. I said, with me being able to move out of my apartment without any penalty, that opened up the door for me to be able to move to the property that I was working at. And I didn't really know how to take that, because I had been asking God I just wanted things to get better, and I didn't really know what it was that I was asking for. It's kind of like when you're hungry and you're like, I'm hungry, but I don't have a taste for anything. I don't really know what I want, right? So that was definitely me, and God, being who He is, just knew what was about to happen. And so I just thank God for that, because He was looking out for me, and what that did was it opened up the door for me being able to move back home to Dallas. And this also allowed for me to have some time to really think on what I wanted to do, because like I said, it had only been about 9 months since I'd moved away, and I had only been married for 7 months at the time. So I was too embarrassed to tell my friends and family, because I mean, it hadn't even been a year, and now what was I gonna say to everyone? Going back again to caring so much what people thought. But it wasn't, this time, it wasn't so much caring what people thought. It was more of, I didn't want to make an impulsive decision. I didn't want to make a decision based off of how I was feeling at the time. This was a big deal. I didn't want to just make a decision and regret it years down the road, right? So what this allowed for me to do was to have alone time. And my daughter was at her dad's for the summer, so I was completely alone. And what this allowed me to do was to get really connected to God and just going back to my first love. And it really gave me clarity without clouding my judgment. You know how we do, ladies, I know y'all can probably relate, but we tend to go sometimes to our friends, and our friends will be like, there's always that one friend, girl, you better leave him. Like, why would you give him a second chance? And then there's those other friends that are like, well, God doesn't approve of divorce, and all these other opposing views, right? And so it can be a little bit confusing because you have all these opinions from everywhere. One of the points I wanted to bring up was Matthew chapter 7 verse 7, and I'd read the scripture when I was younger, but I'm gonna give you kind of a summary of what it says. So it talks about ask and you shall receive. I used to believe, okay, that's easy. Ask God what you want and you'll receive it. But it can't be something like, God, bring me this toxic man back into my life. Now, I won't say that it won't actually be answered. It definitely is not God if that's the case. You know, sometimes we make certain things happen, or it could also be the enemy bringing that person back into your life to try and distract you, right? But that's a whole nother topic for another day. What I love about the scripture is that Jesus is asking the question, if your son asked for bread, would you give him a stone? And so for those of you, even if you're not a parent, but if your child asked you for bread because they're hungry, you wouldn't give them a rock. And God is saying, how much more would I, as your father, give you? And it's overwhelming to me when I think about how great his love for me is, because I love this song. It's called Reckless Love, and if you haven't heard it, you should definitely go check it out. And I love the lyrics. The song talks about God's love and how this reckless love, I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. And just like a parent, I hear my child's cry, he hears our cry. And when you cry out to him and you say, God, I really don't even know what to ask for at this point, because I don't know what I even need or want, but can you show me? Can you just help me and show me a way out? And he will do that. And I think that sometimes we, as Christians even, you know, at least for me, I grew up in the church, so I knew ask and you shall receive. It was very simple, it was very easy concept to grasp. But I think sometimes because this generation tends to be a little bit more entitled, no hate. I think we tend to either think that we're entitled to it, that we do deserve this because we have a right, and that you can't try and do good things and doing community service and doing all these good things and think, oh, I'm doing this because I need this from God. It doesn't work that way. And that's really the beauty of it, because we really don't deserve it, yet He still loves us. And I think sometimes it's a little difficult to grasp the concept of how much He loves us, and this agape love, fully grasp and understand His love for us. So however you imagine God's love, it's much greater than that. That's huge. Like, that's amazing, if you ask me. So when I was thinking about what happened in my life, I heard the story, actually saw it in my devotional, and then this past weekend I was at an evangelism conference, and he talked about the woman at the well. And I'm like, what is it with this woman at the well? Like, what is God trying to reveal to me? What is He trying to tell me? And so if you don't know the story of the woman at the well, it was a Samaritan woman, and at the time Samaritans couldn't associate with Jews. So Jesus approached her. She was near the well, and He asked the woman for a drink. So this was a big deal because, like I said, at the time they couldn't associate. They were not supposed to even be talking, much less a woman. So He asked her for a drink, and this is in my words, of course, and you can find the story in John chapter 4. So when Jesus asked her for a drink, she was confused that He was asking for water, and He didn't even have anything to draw the water with, and the well was really deep. So she asked Him, and why is He asking her for a drink of water when He doesn't even have anything to draw the water with? He said, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you, you would have asked Him, and He would have given you living water. So at this point, I'm sure she was confused. Like, she asked Him, well, where can I find this living water? Because He told her that she would never thirst again. And what I got from this is that this woman, just looking at her history and knowing, once you read about her and you continue reading in the chapter, you see that this woman had been married 5 times, and the man that she was with was not her husband. She wasn't supposed to be with him. So this woman is kind of seen as low. So what I understood from this is that if we ask our Creator, God, for a drink of water, and of course not literally water, but if we ask Him, He will give us everlasting life. So just knowing what He's capable of, it's really assuring to me that if I ask God for something, I know that He will grant me the desires of my heart. He will not answer those things that are outside of His will. Like I said, there's certain things that God will say, maybe it's not a no, but it's not right now. And He knows what's best for us, but the fact that we're reaching out to Him and asking Him, He wants that. And God deserves praise, and we were designed to do that. We were designed to want Him and need Him. When we ask Him, we are doing what we were created to do. It's really amazing to me, because it also brings up the point that, sometimes we ask for things and we don't realize there's something just much greater on the other side of that. And so don't be afraid to ask, and you can still ask God. And don't think just because maybe right now you're not where you want to be, don't think that you can't ask him for that. And also don't think that because you volunteer and you do all these nice things and you give to the poor and you give your tithes that you deserve it, and he should do exactly what you're asking him to do, because sometimes that may not be what's best for you. You can still ask, but go in with the spirit of waiting for him to answer. So hopefully this helped you guys, and thank you for allowing me to share my story with you. I look forward to sharing a lot more, and hopefully it's a blessing to you. If you like what you saw, subscribe. I do my best to upload videos every Wednesday. Let me know if you have any questions, and see you next time. Bye.